All right, hey people, this is Chris Lucas. It's 6:30 a.m. on November 26, 2020. Um, I wanted to make a correction about a video I did yesterday. I got the math wrong, but some people were trying to criticize me and say it was like a lot more wrong than what I did, and it was pretty wrong because what it was I forgot to move the decimal spot over two places when I was converting a number um, to a percentage. So basically, it was this video. I'm just gonna screen share the video I did real quick. Um, but anyway, it was this video I did yesterday about just my opinion. Ivermectin, great for treatment. And I was also talking about what got me banned. But there was part of this video where I was going through the COVID deaths. Let me see if I can get over to it. So I don't want to do that one. I'm going to share. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's right back here. Oh, here we go. It's about the 9-minute mark. That's right. So, but basically, it's I took Indiana has 5,169 deaths. And I took that number divided by cases, which was 300,000, 306,000. And I got like a number like 0.016. And I forgot to move it over 2 spots when you convert it to percentage. And I said, well, there's your percentage of deaths. I'm not wearing a mask for something that's less than the flu. But the thing about that is, I did not. The reason why that looked right to me is back when I did this in April, I figured in antibodies, people who tested for antibodies also. And so when I saw that 0.016 number, and just the fact that it's been since April since I did that video. I thought that number was right because I remember it wasn't 1.6. So I think that's why my mind didn't think to move that decimal point over 2 spots. But what it did make me realize, though, was how they're twisting these COVID death numbers again, and it really makes me mad because I mean, people keep thinking this is something more deadly than the flu, and they keep saying that because of the way they twist the numbers. So I'm going to go on Indiana's website. Let's see here. I'll bring that to the screen real quick so you can see what I mean. Okay, so we're going to go to Indiana's site. So here, this is where I got the numbers from. And so if you want to calculate the death percentage from COVID, you would take total deaths right here, 5,169. You would divide that by 306,538. And it would roughly give you a number of 0.016, and then you move the decimal over 2 spaces, so that would be 1.6%. That means almost that means 2 people die out of every 100. No, 3. I'm sorry, 3 people die out of every 100. All right, but the one big thing they keep on missing here is that way over here you see that they gave 4 million tests almost, and it said 2 million individuals tested. Well, now a lot of these people they might have only gotten tested for COVID, but they weren't tested for antibodies. So we don't know how many of these people had antibodies. All of them could have antibodies for all we know. But someone's going to be like, well, you just can't assume that. Okay, fine. There's been other corona tests, which I just want to. I'm going to show that real quick about where I'm getting all my data from. Okay. We see this article. It was in October 28th. Now, there were antibody tests that were back in April and May, where it was showing like anywhere between 11 to even up to 20% of certain populations had coronavirus antibodies. Okay, so if you take the population of Indiana altogether, we got about 6.9 million people that live here. Okay, so what's 11.5%, because this is the low figure, which is what they cited in this article. They said it was assumed that it was going to be less than 2% when they did antibody tests. But they actually found it to have 11.5% have antibodies. Latin and low income residents, which is like a lot of your essential workers who have to go and work through all this and work at gas stations and all these other places. And Latinos, I mean, dude, let's just face it, man. These people, like, that whole 6-person crowd thing, that doesn't really work, I mean, it's just like, what is it? It's just their culture, for the most part. Because me personally, well, I'm not gonna get anyone in trouble, so I'll just stay silent. But anyway, they got rates of 17% and 15%. So when we do this 11.5%, we're going on the low scale, okay? And I have seen some antibody tests where it says certain populations has as high as like 22, 23, I think. But we'll just go with this 11.5%. So I'm just kind of looking for any super important pieces of information. Okay, so they basically say antibody screening finds COVID-19 nearly 7 times more prevalent in OC than thought. So that means it's 7 times more prevalent, but we'll just use that because of the antibodies. So, but we'll still just use that low figure of 11.5%. So I'm going to bring up a calculator. And then I'll put that up on the screen. You know what? Maybe what I should do is I'm going to instead put this notepad on the screen. And I'll just kind of type the figures as I get them. Okay, so I got that notepad on the screen. So I'm going to go here. I said Indiana's got a population of 6,900,000 people, roughly. So we're going to times that times 11.5%. So I'm going to get my calculator and figure out what that is exactly. Oops, I forgot to hit the percent sign. 6.9 times 11.5. So that's going to give us equals 793,000. So we got that number. Now on that Indiana website, so this is all the people that should have antibodies for COVID, roughly. So we're going to go back to, let's see here, that Indiana website. What they say they had 306,538. 306,538. Okay, so that's positive cases. Positive cases. So what I could also do is we could just assume these positive cases. Also, if we want to, we'll just assume we'll take those away from the well, let's see here. We still got to add that. You know what? We could add this positive cases to that. So that's what I'll do. We'll take this number. We'll just assume this number right here with the antibodies. This 793,000. We'll just assume that makes up these cases are tied into those cases too. So I'll take the deaths, which was like 569 deaths, all right? We'll do 5,169 divided by 79300. Let's see what that would equal. So that would try to be the more fair way to do this. Okay, let me kind of. So that's the number I get. Here, I'm going to kind of make that number a little bit smaller, though. You don't need to go out that far with it. But if I move it over 2 decimal places, right, we're going to get 0.65%. So if it's, here I'm going to put a 0 in front of there. So we got 0.65%. Now, if I was to add positive cases to this, it'd drop even lower. But this is the people that at least have antibodies. So, actually, when they do these cases, they don't bother testing the people who had antibodies. The people that are already a positive case, they don't go test them for antibodies. I don't believe so. So I believe I could actually add these two numbers up and actually get this number lower. But I'll leave this number the way it is. We'll just say it's a death rate of 0.65%. So let's see what flu death rate is. I'm going to click up that page, because I do have that ready to go and pulled up. Okay, yeah, here we go. Coronavirus. See, they're so lying. They say the coronavirus. This was in June 23rd, 2020, and Business Insight. The coronavirus death rate in the U.S. is almost 50 times higher than that of the flu. See how they compare by age bracket. Really? It's 50 times higher? How in the world did you get that? It says on average the flu's death rate is 0.1%, while the coronavirus is 5.2. Hey, you know what? Even when I did my bad numbers yesterday, what was that? It was 1.6, and I didn't even figure out the antibody rate, right? So even without adding antibodies to it, getting these numbers straight from the Indiana website, it's 1.6. See, this is the whole problem with this whole thing is they've been shutting our country down and on cooked up numbers and bad math. I mean, you thought that's horrible math. Where did you get that number from? So but wait a minute, I'm kind of confused here because it says on average the flu's death rate is 0.1%. But then it's like, look at down here. But both viruses are deadly for the elderly. The flu kills 0.83% of infected people above the age of 65. Oh, okay, above the age of 65. Whereas coronavirus's death rate is 10.4% for people aged 65 to 74. Now, here's the problem with that is that when you have the flu, they actually give you treatments for it. When you got corona, and I know doctors, and I know this for a fact, that if it wasn't an FDA approved treatment, sometimes they didn't give you a treatment. Yes, they knew things like ivermectin is pretty safe, which has been used over 3 billion times. I think it's like 3.5 billion times ivermectin's been used, and it's a very safe and tested drug. It's been tested 3.5 billion times from what I understand. So it's a very safe drug to use. Well, fairly safe, as long as you use it right. Because I think like 12, what is it like? It's either 12 milligrams a week or 12 milligrams a day when you're sick for you don't want to keep doing it that high though. Not every day for like a prophylaxis. I'm having trouble saying that word. Like preventative care, you would maybe take 12 milligrams every week. But once you get the virus, they might have you take 12 milligrams. I think it's for like 4 straight days. I got the whole article up on my website, Fishing for Truth, if someone wants to read it. Or I'll put it on up there. I think I forgot to put it out there. But I'll put the link towards the top of the website. And I'll also put it in the COVID mask and oxygen levels link. But anyway, in fact, while I'm doing this video, I'll find it and post it, and then everyone can see exactly where it is. But when you these flu patients get treatment. The COVID patients were denied it. They were given. A lot of them were thrown on ventilators, and I know for a fact that some doctors were not hardly given anything to treat COVID. And here's another thing too. Our health departments never warned people that you're 7 times more likely to die of COVID if you're deficient in vitamin D. So they never warned people of that. And on top of that, what else is it? Yeah, there's all kinds of preventative things you can take, like quercetin, vitamin C. If you're taking quercetin and vitamin C, your chances of catching COVID drop dramatically. And then it's like if you're maintaining proper zinc levels and vitamin D, Um, and then you take ivermectin, early on. If you do catch it, you're pretty much not gonna die. I mean, there's a very low chance of you dying. So you have to remember that a lot of these stats were also kind of beefed up because someone didn't treat someone. It's like saying, hey, everyone who, like, let's say 10% of the people die who get shot with a gun in their hand or something. But, like, yeah, if you just let it sit there and bleed, but if you actually put a bandage on it and stuff, and stop the bleeding, stitch it up or whatever, you're going to lower that percentage, right? And it's kind of like the same thing with this, it's like, well, you weren't even treating the disease properly. You're really being incompetent. And yes, if I'm taking care of someone's like they shoot themselves in the hand, and I take care of it in an incompetent way, guess what? They might bleed to death if I'm really incompetent. And that's what was going on. In my opinion, this is what was going on. So, but at any rate, at worst, okay, this number I believe is not accurate, but I think because most of the time when I see a flu death rate, it's around 0.2%. But like I said, I also kind of pushed that number, that death rate number that I came up with. I pushed it up kind of high. Because I said I could add those numbers to it, add that 300,000 to that 700,000 and get something more like 11, or like 1,100,000. I take that 1,000,000. Let's see here, 1,100,000, and times that by 11.5%. No, wait a minute. That's not what I want to do. Divide it by that death number. Yeah, 5,169 divided by 1,100,000. So I get I guess it only drops it down to about 0.46. So, but basically a 0.65. You're still shutting it down. Now, when they were doing these lockdowns, they're making that about how many more times higher? 10 times higher? Yeah, roughly 10 times higher, 9 times higher than what it really is. So, but see, I also said I'm taking that 11.5%. Those It's like some areas they go up to 17%, some go up to 20%. So if we use those 20% numbers or those 17 or 15% numbers that I've seen, you're going to wind up bringing that death percentage down to around like 0.3, 0.4, 0.2, which is right around where flu is. So, but also, like I said, it wouldn't be that deadly if you actually treated the disease. So you can bring those numbers down very like a lot by just giving it proper treatment. So, um, that's all I'm going to share. I don't want to make this video too long because it was just going to be a correction of my math. But like I said, even if you want to go with that high figure that I came up with, the 0.65%, you want to say that's the real number, just remember that particular number is also with a lot of people that were not given proper treatment. So anyway, that's it for my video. Have a good Thanksgiving.